All right, welcome back to another episode of Just Because Live. Today we are on episode 9, and I've got the pleasure of being joined by Daniel Byrd of Kids on Bikes here in Colorado Springs. And Daniel, I really appreciate you joining me today.
Absolutely. It's absolutely a pleasure.
Cool, man. And so we actually met, I realized we met through Springs Law Group, our law firm, doing a bike giveaway a couple summers ago. And I can tell you, like my partner, Jake, and I, like we've never met anybody more passionate about cycling and more passionate about actually like giving away to children, like helping children with cycling. And so, because we were giving away kids to bikes as a firm, and it was great to see. And I thought your energy was just infectious.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it's, I'm going to cut right to a chase that a question that's probably going to come up later on. I'm living the dream right now. And there's a lot of reasons as to why I'm so passionate about getting bikes to kids without question.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit about your background for people that don't know you, and then that'll lead us up to where you're at on Kids on Bikes right now.
Absolutely. So born and raised here in Colorado Springs, and spent my childhood years right up in the Cragmore area, which is just south of UCCS. And I was either putting on my roller hockey skates or I was hopping on my bike as a kid. Rode my bike to and from school. The school I went to is actually no longer there. There's apartments there right by UCCS. And Palmer Park was usually where I would end up riding a bike, but I played a lot of street hockey. Started playing ice hockey as a kid and everything like that. Mowing lawns is how I saved up money to buy my first bike. It got stolen off my friend's front porch, which was, one of those lessons learned. And then in middle school, my parents moved out to Black Forest. So I spent middle school, high school years in Black Forest, 5 acres of forest, and graduated out of Pine Creek High School right after it was built.
Okay.
Moved up to Greeley to attend UNC in Greeley. I thought I was going the teacher route in my career path, was going teaching, and it just never fit. I played some competitive club hockey up there, transferred to CSU over in Fort Collins. And one day I was going to visit my friends from high school. We were going to CSU, flipping through the course catalog, and social work. It jumped off the page simultaneous with a light bulb going off, as well as almost just this peace in the seat. I could feel myself sinking into the seat, just going, this is it. So I transferred right away from UNC to CSU. Only had to take 1 summer's worth of classes, still graduated in 4 years. But I just gobbled up social work. I mean, it was everything about college that I had loved at that point. My friends actually couldn't believe I was in the library studying. Bro, what are you doing? Oh, you're where? Oh, okay. And, but I absolutely fell in love with social work, and I still love. And so, I mean, there's some similarities with teaching in that you want to work with. For me, it was kids. Social work is a very versatile degree. You can work with elderly, disability. You can do so many things. You can get into law. But for me, it was always youth. It just made sense. I always just enjoyed the energy of youth, and still to this day, I feel very much like a kid. So it just made sense. And so fast forward a little bit, as I was wrapping up my social work degree in Fort Collins, I got an internship working at a residential treatment center, and then I was teaching ice skating lessons and driving the Zamboni up in Fort Collins, which was an amazing job. Yeah, driving the Zamboni is as awesome as one might think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
I actually drove the first probably 3 or 4 weeks I was driving the Zamboni. I couldn't help but laugh and smile because all the people are watching me. I'm going, yeah, I'm driving the Zamboni.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's what, anyway, so I got that internship working with youth at the residential treatment center, and you get seasoned very fast and you realize whether or not you're cut out for that kind of work or not.
Right.
And I not only felt cut out for it, but I absolutely loved it. So moved from Fort Collins to Colorado Springs, again, born and raised here in Colorado Springs. Absolutely love Colorado Springs. I love it more and more every day. But came back here, and my wife and I were engaged at that time, and got a job at what was formerly called, it was Urban Peak. It is now called The Place.
Yeah.
And it is a shelter for youth transitioning out of homelessness, and outreach services, supportive housing, and education, employment, case management. They have all those services there. I landed in as the housing case manager. So I did what would be known as fairly intensive case management. My caseload was smaller, but I got very involved with the youth's lives. I was their life skills person, their education employment person. I was their landlord. I was their taxi guy. I mean, every hat I moved them in and out, every hat you would have to wear. And I also had very long-term relationships with these youth. So sometimes a case management role, you may see your clients once a month. I saw the youth in the apartment program daily. So you really get invested in their life, and you really get to know them well. They get to know you. And I felt more or less like a surrogate parent. Yeah. That's the best way to summarize it. And all the while, I'm working at the shelter a bit, did some overnights, did some street outreach. But right when I started at Urban Peak, that was the fall of 2005. January of 2006, I lost my older brother to suicide.
Oh, wow.
And he was an incredible pillar, best friend, older brother, and losing him was very, very difficult. And still, the grieving process lives on. But to carry the weight of that and the weight of social work, I had totally detoured away from ice hockey and just started picking up a bike. And my good friend had built up a single speed mountain bike for me. And the mountain bike trails became my therapy. So I started riding a mountain bike relentlessly. I mean, it was the most positive, wonderful thing I could possibly do, going through that tough season.
Right.
So then I start commuting. I mean, I just can't get enough of the bicycle. I still love working with youth and help, So in combination with that is my experience learning, because the big question would always be, how do we end homelessness? Right. How do you get people, ideally you want to prevent homelessness in the first place. And that's where, when I put my social worker hat on, I start realizing, I want to work further upstream. Where are these individuals getting lost, losing their way, or less resourced, any and all of those things that impact a person's life in such a way. And when you actually go back into all these stories, they all have traumatic childhood experiences. They were pulled out of the home when they were young, or they just didn't grow up in a very stable environment, whatever the case is. So for me, the bicycle just started to make sense. Not only was it my saving grace in a number of ways, and the bicycle was a huge deal for me, but what kid doesn't love a bicycle? And then at the same time, what kid doesn't need a bicycle to get out from perhaps a very stressful environment? And the mental health benefits from riding a bike, the confidence that you gain from learning to ride when you're a kid, all these things, I just start milling around in my head, and I'm just going, for me, social work became about the bicycle, and it became about early childhood development. It became about going into the same neighborhoods that I was going into as a social worker. How do we reach the families and kids with something positive that will be, well, and that's just it, really. It's just something positive. The bicycle is a rite of passage, and most adults would agree that every kid should have a bike. It's a very simple tool, but it's a very profound and significant thing that every kid should have. And I see it as, again, you're developing healthy habits, you're getting to and from school if you need to, whatever the case might be. So at Urban Peak, we started a bike program there. So all these youth that are try to become a little bit more self-sustainable, or self-sustainable, more independent as an individual.
Right.
They're trying to find a job. Well, the bus lines only go so far, so many times. And even on the weekends there, at the time, our bus system was not as great as it could be.
Yeah.
So these youth, you know, to get them a bike, they could not only take the bus, now they might be able to expand their search for a job. They might still be able to go to and from school. And then when we would get these youth a job at Taco Bell, they finally, you know, they get their GED. Now they can get a job at Taco Bell where they're going to get the closing shift at Taco Bell.
Right.
The bus system doesn't run. So now we need to get them a bike so they have a safer way to get home, back to the shelter, whatever. So for me, the bike program just fit every dynamic of what we were doing at what is now called The Place, but formerly the Urban Peak.
Right.
And then for me, it just became, boy, this is what I want to do. This is all I want to do is get bikes into the hands of people who need bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to teach them along the way and you got to do all this stuff. So right after we had started this bike program at Urban Peak, I learned about Kids on Bikes, a local organization that's been around since 2005, does some Earn a Bike programming. And I go, that's where I belong. So I immediately started showing up and just saying, so let's work together. What can we do? Hey, are you hiring by chance too? Because you should let me know. Even if it's some time, I'll take it. And really just started cultivating a relationship with Kids on Bikes, grew a partnership there. And then it was the spring of 2013, I was brought on part-time and seasonal to do after-school Earn a Bike programs for Kids on Bikes and start the summer bike camps that we have that are still running to this day. So summer bike camps, Earn a Bike. So it was just a part-time seasonal thing. But then by the end of the year, 2013, I was brought on full-time. So I basically kicked off 2014 full-time at Kids on Bikes, and it's just been nonstop. Just that passion only seems to be growing deeper every year, every day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you hit on a couple of things that I want to talk about for a minute. So you're a hockey fan then, I'm guessing, still today, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay. Do you have a team? Are you an Avs
Sorry,
fan?
do I have what?
Do you have a hockey team that you like to follow?
I do. Well, Team USA, and I'm going to say that right away because I love the Olympics. Olympic hockey is so much fun because now you see a lot of the NHL, but they're representing their country. It's just phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
So I love the Olympic hockey. Of course, I'm always going to pull for Team USA, but I don't care who wins ultimately. I grew up a Detroit Red Wings fan only because my older brother, who got me into hockey in the first place. So who's a better goalie when you and your buddies are playing hockey in the street than your little brother? And your little brother, me, I just want to play. So they put me in goal. So I take, countless sticks and tennis balls to the face. This tooth right here is actually half of it's fake.
Oh.
He's a big Minnesota North Stars fan because he liked Mike Modano and Brian Bellows. And so he goes, you're going to be Detroit. You're going to be Detroit Red Wings. So I started to go, okay, well, who's good on Detroit? And Steve Yzerman. Steve Yzerman's good on Detroit. Okay. So as a young kid, I'm going, Steve Yzerman. And sure enough, Steve Yzerman is not a bad player to be a fan of, but I grew up just a huge fan of the Red Wings. And then all of a sudden the Colorado Avalanche, Quebec Nordiques moved, and boom, this rivalry explodes. And I was caught between two worlds. I was like, well, I got to stick with the Red Wings for now. And it just, people couldn't believe it. They're going, you're from here and you're a Red Wing. I got snowballs thrown at me going to a game once. They just couldn't believe it.
Holy cow. That's crazy.
Fast forward, let's see, 10 years later, at least, I'm an Avalanche fan for sure. Okay. I'm happy if the Red Wings do well. However, all the players I was a fan of since retired, gone on into the Hall of Fame. Now I'm definitely a great hockey in general. I love the sport still. The Avalanche are, if you watch Nathan McKinnon stick handling,
holy cow,
just as quick as I'll get it. He's just quick. But there's so many fun teams to watch nowadays, and the game is still fun, and just I love doing it. And my boys, I have twin boys that are 8 years old.
Okay.
They start playing some ice hockey, so that's lots of fun. So I get out there and help out coaching.
Oh, that's awesome. Then someday they're going to put you in as goalie too. Now they can put dad in as goalie.
Oh, they absolutely will. They absolutely will.
You just gotta watch that too.
But I know I'm gonna have a cage now. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely have a cage. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, and then the other thing too, what's interesting is I've had this talk with other people on the show too about that idea of starting out after you graduate high school, having this idea in your head of what you want to be, and then making that pivot, right? And then it's actually another pivot. And so can you talk a little bit about that kind of to people out there that are going, and I've got a daughter myself who's gone through school and been like, I don't really want to do this, but I don't know what to do now. So kind of in that decision making, how it all happened for you, and any thoughts you have on that.
Yeah, you've got to follow your gut and listen to your heart, but you have to learn how to do that first. I think it's really easy to perhaps if you don't have some core values and beliefs that root you in who you are in your identity, in who you are, no matter what you do, it's going to be easy to just chase what the next best thing might be. But for me, I remember there were specific teachers and coaches who always just had a great impact in my life. And I thought there was just something that made sense about that. I remember thinking, not really knowing after high school, really didn't know. I even talked to a recruiter with the Navy, just military wise. I thought maybe I'll go the military route. Didn't, I kind of listened to that gut feeling like, no, that doesn't seem like me. What's interesting is how that, as long as you make a concrete decision based on who you are, and you're at least within the right lane, you're on the right road. Yeah. Whether or not you got to change lanes, you'll figure that out. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you have to exit, but you've always got to at least have that compass that really is in here that you've got to learn how to listen to. And what's interesting is that, had I not pursued teaching, I wouldn't have realized that teaching is not really a good fit for me. Yeah. Had I not just looked through the course catalog and found social work the way I did, I don't know. I might have just gotten a degree in sociology or something. I don't know. But everything has led to the next best thing because I kept pursuing what I was most passionate about. Right. And I think that's where it also comes down to, you've really got to know what makes you tick and just kind of what makes sense, and if you learn more about yourself, you're far more likely to make sure you at least know what to say no to. Saying yes to the right thing can always be tricky, but you can at least say, well, I'm not going to be a CPA. Yep. I'm probably not going to be this, and I'm probably not going to be that. You can at least rule out other things. True. And then navigate from there. Right. And of all the things too, I guess too, I would not, knowing you the way I do, you as a CPA is one of those things where I'm like, there is no way I could ever see that. It could be bad. And it just, but it's interesting. I mean, I think you make a good point, because part of it is not being just stuck in fear of like making the wrong decision or not going down that one thing that you think is out there for you. But it's that idea of being on the path and actually just taking some action and going for it. And then you can switch lanes, and that's okay too. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's getting a social work degree opened up a lot of doors. Right. But I even knew then that youth are a lot of fun, and I get them, that makes sense to me. It just because I knew other things didn't make sense. Right. So yeah, that's awesome. Absolutely. And I'm very fortunate, and I don't miss that point again and again every day. I mean, living in this beautiful city, getting to do what I do that I love. I mean, I know I'm very blessed, and that's awesome. I don't miss that often. Right. And so then let's talk about it now. You get to Kids on Bikes, and then you start out part-time, and then you get a full-time position. And then obviously now you're the executive director there. So talk to people about that may not know in the community about Kids on Bikes, what you all do and what you guys stand for. Oh, good question. So Kids on Bikes originated, like I said earlier, back in 2005, simple goal is getting bikes to kids that otherwise don't have them. And then evolving over time were 3 priorities. And I came on board right as these board strategy sessions are beginning and things like that, just learning, okay, when we get bikes to kids, how do we make sure they have a good place to keep them, how to lock it up, how to, when it gets a flat, do they know how to fix it? Because we do know from other surveys, half the time kids don't ride a bike, it's just because of flat tires.
Wow.
And that's so simple. I mean, I learned how to fix, my older brother taught me in my garage how to fix a flat. And when I got enough thorns in there and I ran out of patches, I'd ride my bike down to Ted's bike shop, get another patch kit, buy a tube, and, but I learned how to do that. And I had somebody to teach me how to do that.
Yeah.
Not every kid is so fortunate. And so education became a very key component, not just the kids getting bikes, but the education that needs to go along with it. Sometimes it's how to ride a bike for the first time in the first place. So we integrate a lot of learning to ride, and every Earn a Bike that I've ever done and that we continue to do, there's usually at least 1 out of 10 that still need to learn how to ride a bike. That's just right here in Colorado Springs, year in now. It's usually about 1 out of 10. Sometimes it's 2 out of a group of 10, but so that education piece, that access to bikes, and then it's really about the opportunities to ride. How do we create more and more ongoing opportunities to ride? We know that a lot of times a kid is only going to ride a bike if mom and dad say it's okay, it's safe, they live in a safe neighborhood. Well, what if they don't? Then what are their options? They've gotten a bike and they can fix a flat. If they're not riding it regularly or don't know how to get to and from school safely, well, how do we work on that? And so we in all our Earn a Bikes, we talk about safe routes. How do you go from where you live to here? And when is it appropriate to be on the sidewalk versus in the street? And we don't even get into street riding safety until the kids are in 5th grade anyway. And that's just from, their peripheral vision is more developed then and other things like that. Mm-hmm. But we really stick to making sure that we get kids that otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to ride a bike, teach them what they need to know with as much time as we can get, and then create more opportunities for them to ride following that. So those are our 3 priorities that we kind of funnel all our decisions through, making sure that, if we're doing a community event, it's outreach so that we can do more and create this idea of, if we go to the park as a family, we could ride our bikes around the park. And then actually it's only 5 blocks. Why don't we just ride to the park? Yeah. Before you know, they're not loading up the car as much and all that great stuff. Oh. So Kids on Bikes is focused on those priorities. And then with that, we've, in 2016, we opened up the pedal station, which is our community bike center. So bike donations brought in, and we have, and think of it just like the ARC or Goodwill or Restore, if you're, Habitat for Humanity that runs Restore. What we can sell to pay rent, then all those funds, every dynamic about it, every bike that comes in is what's the best purpose to the mission with this bike. It's going to go retail, it's going to go programs, it might be scrap for parts, it might just be so far gone that we have to scrap it for metal and just keep it out of the landfill. That's worst case scenario with any donation. But it has been built on a phenomenal and very robust amount of volunteers and volunteer time. Lots of staff hours that have gone to the pedal station, but it is growing very well so that we can take bike donations in and fund our programs and supply the community with good budget-minded bikes, to good quality refurbished bikes for sale, which helps fund our mission. Absolutely. So the pedal station, enormous enterprise of ours. And then there's the summer bike camps that we started back in 2014, the summer of 2014 or 13. Grace, I forget.
It's
2013. Sorry. Great Bicycle Carnival. First Great Bicycle Carnival was 2014. Even though we had other bike festival events, the Great Bicycle Carnival was 2014. And that's a community outreach event that, anyway. So the summer bike camps, again, it's just about providing a lot of bicycle education opportunities for kids to ride throughout the summer. And then we still have our Earn a Bike programs and bike nominations. So a bike nomination is where a caseworker or an advocate of some sort that can speak on a child or family's behalf. Lutheran Family Services is a good example. When they get a refugee family in, that, you know, hey, there's 4 kids, 2 adults, and they need bikes. So we have their caseworker, whomever, submit something to us just so we know how many, what size. And then when they come in, we can do a quick overview and a tutorial about, here's how this bike works. Let's make sure it fits you for a helmet and those kinds of things. But and all these things that we're doing, it's all exciting. I shouldn't say that.
Right. One
of the most incredible things is watching the neighborhood bike library Earn a Bike programs grow. So that's been an ongoing evolution since inception of Kids on Bikes, about going into different neighborhoods where there's just lower socioeconomic status, less opportunities for kids. And we provide an Earn a Bike program, but we've really kind of changed the program model to train the people that already work with and live within those neighborhoods, so that they select the kids that they know need it. The PE teachers run the program, or the school counselor runs the program, and they can run as much programming as they have the capacity to do. And we step alongside them to say, how do you want to run bike programming? What are some things you want to integrate into them earning a bike? We will ask them to just make sure they cover some essentials: bike helmet, ABC quick check, which helps the kid know whether or not the bike is safe enough to ride. Simple stuff. But then, you know, we have all this curriculum, we have all this experience that we can pass along throughout neighborhoods, so that the neighborhood takes ownership of it. And then we take this old shipping container, we call it a bike library, we retrofit it, and that's where we have bikes always accessible, so that they can check bikes in and out, run the programming. Kids can then earn the bike that they've been riding. And they're riding on, you know, good quality, refurbished old hardtails that, you know, came from a bike shop here in town 10 years ago. Yeah. So we've got these bikes out of people's garages, get them fixed up with volunteers, and then we get them back out into these neighborhoods, and a 12-year-old kid, it becomes their freedom machine. And they're just navigating the neighborhoods now. And now they have a pump and a patch kit, so if they get a flat tire, they can fix it. And so it's all, you know, it's kind of all these things. And I guess when I was trying to say it's the most exciting, it's really just where all these efforts come together for the sole purpose of making sure bikes get in the hands of everybody. Quality bikes, mind you, with knowledge, and with, now they know the routes throughout their neighborhood to ride in. And it's a beautiful thing, because the community comes alongside it. The neighbors are part of it. It's just so much fun.
Okay. And so, and I'll give a testimonial even to the pedal station, because my youngest daughter, who's 21, we actually bought her a bike when she was up at Boulder. She wanted a bike one year to get around, because she was close enough to school that sometimes it was really annoying to park her car. So it's a lot easier for her to ride a bike. So we came over to the pedal station. We got her this bright, old-timey kind of yellow bike, but it's a great bike. And she still got it today. She still uses it. She's taking it with her to law school when she leaves. And so, I mean, I can tell everybody out there that the quality of bikes that you can actually get at the pedal station and the work that those volunteers put in, it's phenomenal. Like, it is great stuff. And so I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's cool. Just something that's practical, just, you know, that's just simple. And then hopefully that bicycle riding evolves into their first, you know, a charity ride, or who knows what, but it opens up a lot. And I couldn't help but notice law school.
Yes. So my youngest is heading out in a couple of weeks, and my older getting married next week. So we've got a couple of big life events going on in our lives right now too. So
congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Very cool. Nice.
So talk to us then too about, so I know some hiking trails in town, but can you talk to people about like around this community? Like where are some good biking, cycling trails, biking trails to go on?
So I will start with where do you live and what type of riding do you want to do? I think
Gotcha.
Sometimes bicycling can be intimidating, even to adults and definitely to kids, but even to adults, they can feel intimidated about, well, I'm not like them, right? And they're either pointing their finger at the fancy mountain bike that has lots of suspension, or they're pointing at the guy who's, air tucked, skin tight suit going up the street, and they're thinking, there's no way I'm going to ride in the street.
Yeah.
So there's a relatively good network of trails and trails that are what we call multi-purpose or multi-use. Okay. So they run east to west, north to south. You can actually find a lot of those at the city website. I know for sure. There's also an organization called Bike Colorado Springs. Okay. They have there's maps that kind of really help you connect of what type of trail, and that's more from a transportation standpoint. So you can navigate based on where you are and what trails are fun. For me, I am happy the moment I throw a leg over a bike. That's my favorite place to be in riding, and I'm thrilled to be on a cruiser bike, commuting, mountain biking. If push comes to shove, I love mountain biking, and I will mountain bike. I just love getting into nature and getting on some dirt. So then it becomes just about exploring of where you are. So the Cottonwood Trail, kind of northeast Colorado Springs, Briargate area, the Cottonwood Trail has recently been well connected to get you all the way over to Woodman and I-25. Oh, wow. And you can go take it as far east as Powers. So you can it's just opened everything up. And there's fun little social trails off to the side, that people can dabble in. Right in the middle of town, we have Palmer Park. To be a city of our size, to have a place like Palmer Park right in the middle of it with a lot of great mountain biking. That's I have every place is my favorite place. Palmer Park is definitely a place I hold dear. It's where I grew up learning to ride, and I still love riding there to this day. Ute Valley Park, Blodgett. You've got Red Rock Open Space. You've got the Canyon, Cheyenne Mountain State Park, tons. And what's so fun is how different these places are. So Palmer Park, you're going to find some really good technical riding as a mountain biker. Red Rocks and the Canyon, you're going to get more climbs, a little bit bigger descents. Yeah. I love riding at the base of Mount Herman in Monument. It's this perfect combination of technical, challenging climbs, but it's just super fun. I love riding up in Monument as well. The Falcon Trail on the Academy, if you can get on, great. That's a fun loop as well. Yeah. And then if I'm out on a road bike, I try to head west. I go just into the mountains and try to find the toughest climbs that I can. So going back into the Cheyenne Canyon, up the Woodman Loop, as it's called, you go up by around Woodman and Blodgett Peak and that stuff. Yeah. And then there's lots of little fun hidden gems everywhere going up and down the Santa Fe Trail. But favorite place to ride, gosh, man. And there's a lot of great people that I love riding with too. I always recharge my batteries riding by myself. So I try to make sure I ride solo enough to make sure I'm just getting out just me. I can push as hard as I want or go as slow as I need to. I could recommend great places all day, but I'll circle back to where I started as to where are you at? Where do you as an individual start? Then it's, first of all, try not to be intimidated. Everybody begins somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. Just start, just go, just get going. And then you figure it out from there.
I love it. I love that advice too, right there. It's just get going. And, and what's interesting, Daniel, is, so I actually used to be a school teacher before doing this. And it's something to where like hearing you talk over the last, 30 minutes or so, you started out going to college, on the teaching track. And I can tell you everything you're saying now, like it's exactly what you're doing though, man. like you are a teacher at heart. Like it's listening to you talk about what you're doing, the curriculum, the, teaching the safety, like doing all of those things. It's just not necessarily in a classroom, but you've got the whole outside of Colorado Springs as your classroom. And it's amazing.
Cool. I like that. Well, and I feel like that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Yeah. It's in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that heart of a teacher that you've got. I love seeing it. You can tell the passion that you present just in your knowledge and talking about it, but from your passion about getting out there in the community, getting kids access to bikes, that idea of what you're, it may not be the greatest thing, but it's one of those things of all those things coming together in segments of the community where kids have access to bikes, which is really important.
Right. That's cool. How long were you a teacher? Sorry.
I was a teacher for about 2 years here in town. And then taught for a little bit in a couple of the districts. And then both my wife and I were at a school together for a bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
that's so cool.
Yeah. It's just crazy, man. It's, I think life does that thing like you were saying, right? We're going down a path and then we switch lanes and we change lanes. Sometimes we get off the exit and go do something else. So, absolutely. Well, Daniel, I appreciate you coming on today. And I tell people that I want to value their time. So we're at about the end mark. And I want to make sure that I close out the same way I always do. I'm going to ask you 2 closing questions, and then I'll leave you with the last word. So the first question I always ask is, what is your favorite place in the state of Colorado?
Oh, boy. Okay. Right now, what comes to my mind is my front porch.
I'll take it.
Because I can look and see the mountains. And I can just dream about the next ride that I'm going to do or whatever, or think about, going fishing, whatever. I've been to a lot of great places throughout the state. There's still a lot of areas of the state I've never been. Right. There's some beautiful mountain towns, no question about it. And I absolutely love Colorado. I love Colorado Springs the most, though. Every time I'll go somewhere else, I love visiting it and seeing it.
Yeah.
However, when I come home, this is home, and this is my favorite place to be. So Colorado Springs, without question, is my favorite place. And
perfect. Yeah. And then next question is, and you've already alluded to this a little bit, is what is your dream job, sir?
I'm a lucky guy. I've got it right now. Dream job is what I'm doing right now. Yeah. And I'm very fortunate to feel so just so solidified in that answer. I mean, there's no, I don't know. Somebody else might think that I'm full of it, but I kid you not. If I sit down longer, if we get in here deeper, I'll convince you more and more that, this is exactly where I belong. And I'm fortunate to be here every day that I am.
That's great.
So my job, and now my job is really taking care of the people that help make the mission that I'm so passionate about, so my job is even more meaningful now than ever before.
I absolutely love it, man. Okay. And I do want to say too, I think you're a great representative for the city, for the city and the area around here too. Your love for Colorado Springs, it shows love for cycling, getting people outdoors, everything else. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing over there at Kids on Bikes and the pedal station. I think you guys are awesome, and keep doing it.
Thank you.
As always, let us know how we can help you. Can you tell people too how to get in contact with you?
Oh, absolutely. So you could go to the website, Facebook. We're on Facebook as well, of course. But on our website, you can go, you go to the bottom of just connect with us. So it's kidsonbikes.net. So spelled out one word, kidsonbikes.net. Go to our website. You learn a lot there. There's some good videos on there that explain a little bit more about who we are and what we do. There's Facebook, of course, reaching out like Messenger. I've realized, people do utilize Facebook a lot for that, which is good. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. And then you kind of connect. Once you reach out through the website, get you plugged into, if you're interested in the pedal station, or if you're interested in the camps, or if you're interested in programs, we've got a staff member ready to to get you connected.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And then Daniel, before we close, I'm going to leave you with the last word and any thoughts that you've got.
Well, yeah, gosh, having my dream job has only been because there's so many great people supporting what we do who value kids on bikes. And you guys are a perfect example. You guys at Springs Law Group, you guys have helped us fulfill our mission since we began a relationship, right? And there's so many wonderful bike shops. There are the board members. I have a very wonderful board of directors. I've had, we have a tremendous amount of volunteers. So it's businesses, it's the local bike shops, it's the bike teams and bike clubs. We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without everybody being part of it. And I think that's a neat thing about this job is that nobody owns it. There's no owner. The owner is us as a city. And so I'm just trying to be the best steward of everything that I possibly can be. But that's something that, is, that's what also drives me too, because Springs Law Group, for example, your support, Iron Horse Pediatrics, honestly, if I started going through the list of all the local companies who have supported us in the foundation, it would grow and grow, and all the volunteers. It's just like, before you know it, you're going, boy, just a big thank you. Big thank you to everybody. A thank you to anybody who's listening, who's been engaged with kids on bikes or is about to. It takes a village, and we have a very big village that's growing really fast, but it's also a beautiful village. So we got to do our part and take care of the kids coming up behind us.
Dude, you're awesome. And I'm going to leave you out with this so that we'll close on this great positive note too. So Craig came on and he said, thank you. I love kids on bikes. So thanks,
Awesome.
Craig. Daniel,
thank you, Craig.
Cool. And appreciates that.
Nice.
All right, cool. Guys. Well, happy Wednesday to everybody. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on, and we will see you all next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.